Welcome to Wisdom Within with Tina and Tonya. We have an amazing episode for you today. Stay tuned because we are going to be talking about simplifying your spirituality and really helping you create a personal practice that feels right to you. So, before we get started, I'm Tonya and I guide women who are experiencing a spiritual shift and feel like they're called towards something greater, but perhaps they struggle with self doubt and trusting themselves. And I help them really to fully embrace their power, step into their next level. And Tina, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tina, and I guide women 45 and up to deepen their spiritual connection through simple rituals, gratitude practices, and elemental wisdom. I help I help them weave the sacred spirituality into everyday life, and we do that with ease and meaning. So,
I love it. Love it. Love it. All right, you guys. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about, why so many women, especially spiritual seekers, overcomplicate their practices. And we're going to hopefully be able to remind you that your spiritual practice is really meant to support you, not overwhelm you. And we kind of get in the opposite. I know I've been in that cycle where sometimes I overdo it and then it becomes something that really adds stress to my life instead of the releasing of stress, like it's really meant to be. So,
right.
Tina, do you want to start us off on the topic? Why maybe we overcomplicate that spirituality?
Well, part of it is the dogma, right? We see uh, we've belonged to churches. We've gone to church. We've gone through religion, and the religion tells us we have to do things a certain way, and that if we don't pray just right, God's not going to listen, right? Or the other thing is, maybe you're not going to church or whatever, but you're following this spiritual guru or this spiritual guide, and they're telling you that you need to do things a certain way. And so you have all these steps that you need to follow, and it just starts to become more complicated, or or you, like, for me, what I found was I follow Native American beliefs, and I've gone to the churches, and I've been in a real strict church. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, so I was like, it was teetotaler strict church, and had to do things a certain way and all that. And so I had that already as I was with my spirituality. And I'm a very spiritual person, just at the core. I'm a Pisces. Pisces is all spiritual, right? And so I've always been drawn to the spiritual. And when I grew up in this religion, I thought that was what it was supposed to be. Then I left the religion and I found the Native American beliefs. And I went through the Native American, I'd go to ceremony, and Joe was uh, he was dancing in the Sundance, and I was learning all those things with them, and I learned about how to do things and whatever. And I realized that um, for me, when I started doing these practices, I was doing ceremony for myself, and I was doing ritual for myself, and even the small thing of going outside and offering tobacco to the creator, for as a thank you for the day. And that's kind of what the Native American teachings, they some of the things that they say. I would go out and I'd be like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I can't, I don't dare do this. Maybe I'm maybe I'm not doing it right, or did I say my prayer good enough to the four directions, or all these things. And so we tend to get in that self-doubt, and that really helps us to, or puts us in that place of, am I doing it right? Or and following all the gurus, or they're telling us that we have to do it this, and or we're not doing enough, or there's so many things that keep us, we we make it way overly complicated. So
Mhm. And I know for me, I mean, I could echo everything that you just said, but I will also add with where I am right now because I have been in those places in my past. But where I am right now, one of the reasons, or I guess, traps in a way that I fall into with overcomplicating is I want to do it all. I
Mhm.
love all the things. So I'm looking around my desk right now and I have a candle. I'm not going to pick up everything, but I've got a candle. I have a boatload of crystals. I have a deck of cards. I have some stuff I can journal on and incense. Like I have all the things, the sage, the
Mhm.
all of it. So for me, sometimes I overcomplicate it because I want to do everything. And so it's almost like if I don't have time to sit down and burn the incense and light the candle and have the water and sage and journal and meditate and card pull, it's almost like I stop myself from doing that spiritual practice because I truly, genuinely don't have all the time in the world. And
Mhm.
um, so that's one time I overcomplicate it because it's almost like I feel like I want to do everything every single time, and I don't
Mhm.
have to.
Right.
And it can be very, very simple, but I know I do that to myself. And then
Yeah.
I also get in this like sometimes it's just that, and then sometimes it's almost like this fear of not doing enough, where I'm like, I have to do a full moon thing, and I have to do a new moon thing, and I've got to do this, and I have to journal, and I have to meditate, and I do my self Reiki healing, and and sometimes it's because I want to do them all, but sometimes there's also like I have challenges in my life, right? And because I have these challenges, I want to do more. I need to do it again. I need to do more. I need to, and I recognize how I fall back into that pattern that you just described with my religious upbringing. It was like, oh, you're not doing enough then. If you're not
Mhm.
getting the results you want, you're not doing it enough. You're not doing it right. And so I find myself like, even though I don't subscribe to those beliefs anymore or ever, but even though I'm not in that practice anymore, um, I catch myself kind of in the behavior pattern of, well, I don't have this result yet, so I need to meditate more, or I need to journal more, or I need to use more mantra. I don't know, like all those different things where there's almost a fear of my spiritual practice not being enough, and that's why I'm not manifesting the life that I want or whatever. So I
Right.
definitely can fall into both traps of the fear of not doing enough and the fun of doing it all, which can also make it overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then the other thing, as you mentioned earlier, is like Instagram,
I love
right?
Instagram, but damn.
Yeah. Those, those spiritual influencers, they get on there and they do all these huge rituals and they do this and we see it and we're like, "Oh God, I need to be doing that." That's the thing that I need to do, right? And yeah, so we have all that comparison too that comes up when we're doing these spiritual and I found that really myself um when I first started doing ceremony because I had so many. For one, I had the Native American people that I follow, or I shouldn't say followed, but that I knew that had taught me different things, and then I had influencers basically on Instagram or on Facebook or that are my Facebook friends that I saw them being a certain way, and I compared my practices to theirs, and that really hindered me a lot, and it stopped me from sometimes it stopped me from doing the practice that I that I that intuitively I knew I needed to do because I was thinking that it wasn't good enough, or that what if what if they found out that I did it this way and they're going to tell me no, that's not the right way to do it. And so
You
I
actually
did
had that
find it.
experience not long ago, didn't you,
Yeah.
with the drum circle?
Ah,
Wasn't there a question that came to you from someone who was asking about kind of questioning a drum circle in the
question. I can't remember. It
well,
probably,
anyway,
but
something like that. But we do, right? And we remember that, like, especially if you're putting that stuff out there,
Mhm.
we not only do we receive the influence from the Instagrammers, but we
Mhm.
also feel the pressure of doing it right for the people who are watching.
Right.
Um, when we put our
And
authentic
that's
selves out. Yeah.
Yeah. And with my, with the drum circle, I struggled with that a lot because I knew all these people that did drum circle and they did beautiful drum circles and then I knew uh other people would come in and to my drum circle and I'm just like, oh God, am I doing it right? Am I doing it? And I still, I still have a little bit of that when I do my circles. It's like, oh, I hope everybody gets what they need out of it. So,
Yeah. And I think, we end up in this space of forgetting that the other people that we see, or they're there for, we get to celebrate their achievements, we get to celebrate the way they do their thing, and it's also there for us to receive inspiration.
mhm,
Like if we can look at the things that we see from the outside, we can see that through the lens of inspiration versus comparison.
right,
And even if we see someone who is very intuitive, very in tune with their intuition, and we want to be like that person, remembering that that person may or may not have always been that way. There might, I know for me, when I I didn't used to be as intuitive as I am now. That's definitely something that's grown. My trust in it has insanely increased over the last few years. Um, and so it's something that I don't doubt anymore, but I sure did for the majority of my life.
right,
So just remembering that even what we see in others is not either a number or number one, like not the way it's always been for them. They had to start as a beginner as well. And also we never know what's going on behind the scenes either.
right. That's so true. And I mean, that's kind of like what we just did that Reiki class. We did taught a Reiki class together, and um, I think I mentioned that in the Reiki class that your intuition is like all you just know, and and then you reminded me, yeah, but I didn't know
Yep. Yeah,
when
in the
I
very
first started
beginning.
this. I didn't know.
Yeah, and people see the highlight reel, right?
Mhm.
Where I just make those snap decisions
Right.
based on that, and I have this instant knowing, and it didn't start that way. It started
Mhm.
much more, I don't want to say rigid, but structured.
Right.
Because that was what I needed to. I always call it the training wheels. I needed training wheels so that I could have that kind of going, and then I could, okay, move the training wheels. Now they're hindering me. Time to drop those and let them
Right.
go.
Right.
And I think it's really looking, when we go back to our spiritual practice and what that is, it is here to support you. It is here to help you tune into that inner wisdom, help you connect with your higher power, and really remembering that if it's, is it bringing you peace or pressure? Do you feel
Mhm.
like your spiritual practice is bringing you peace? Because that is really what it's meant to do. It's helping us feel connected within as well as without. And if it's creating pressure and stress, then it's time to look at it in a different way. What am I
Right.
holding on to too tightly? Where is this showing me that it's time to let go of those training wheels and, you know, connect in a way that feels authentic to me in that moment?
Yes, definitely.
So maybe it's even going clear back to redefining what spirituality means to you. So how would you kind of define that?
Um, it for me it's intuitive, right? It's doing what feels right to you, and what you need. And I know that not everybody's intuitive, but just allow it to be what feels right and what's natural, what comes natural to you when you're doing your um spiritual practice. I know um I've had to really refine that in the past several years because, like I said, I was in that place of doubting myself, and I found out that the more I step into that, allowing it to be what it is, and what it is for me, the deeper my connection is with my creator, the earth, the ancestors, the elements, the animals. It's just like I just have this deeper connection when I allow my spirituality to be what feels good to me, what feels natural to me. And for me, it's very simple. Most of it's pretty simple practices. It's not, I don't do the elaborate stuff, not often. I do sometimes, and I like doing it sometimes, but not all the time. And so, um, and just remember that your practice does change too. And I know I've found like, and I know you're always talking about that too, is like seasons. And maybe this is your season for this. And I always, because I'm always like, I come to you, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Or I'm not doing this and I should be doing this. And you're like, well, maybe it's just not the season for it right now. And that's true. Our practices shift as we shift. And we do have different seasons. And so sometimes, like for me, sometimes I'm drumming all the time. And and then other times I'm not, I don't even pull the drum off the wall for, weeks at a time. And sometimes I'm going out and praying in my medicine oil, every morning. And then other times I'm in here doing my meditations every morning. So it's like it changes, and allow it to change, allow it to be that fluid, that flow, that fluid practice. And that's where your connection comes at a deeper level.
I love the way you worded that and everything you just said, because what I could see in my mind as you were talking was who who I was when I started this kind of spiritual journey of my own. And if I was still doing the practices that I started with, I would be very unfulfilled and
Mm-hmm.
bored with it by now. Like it is meant, like we as humans are meant to evolve and grow, and our spiritual practices are meant to evolve and grow with us. And yet at the same time, many of the practices that I'm doing now are actually many of the practices that I started, but the depth and the richness in it has completely shifted. So, for example, a simple practice for me is journaling. That is something, and I know that not everyone is a journaler, and that's okay too. But for me, words are my thing. Words have power. Words, I love to say that what you speak, you're casting spells. Like, be careful what you say,
Yes.
because, and think, like, words have power. And when I first started journaling, I was really getting things off my chest. I did a lot of venting, cried it out in my journal. Um, Still do that once in a while, but it has greatly evolved. And now my journaling is very much a spiritual practices because it takes me within. And it, like a lot of times, I can start with a question like, why am I feeling this way? What's actually coming up for me? And it will come out on the page. And so for me, that didn't used to happen. That is more the last year or so where that's really become a sacred practice to me, is sitting down with my journal. That is very different from sacred and spiritual practices that I grew up learning about. So I, yeah, I mean, I grew up in a family culture where you write in your journal. And that was very much something that was openly discussed and taught and preached from the pulpit with, but it was for a very different purpose. And I recognize that the shift that I feel has made it, the shift that I have brought into it is what has made it truly spiritual. And it is not for other people, it is for me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not writing this for prosperity. I'm not writing this for my children to read sometime. In fact, Lord knows I hope they don't. Like, I'm sorry if you do, but
Right.
you chose to open the book. Welcome
Right.
to it. But there is a depth of richness in my writing now because it's only for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no, it is just for my, whatever it is that I need in that moment. So even though our spiritual practices evolve, many of the things I used to do I've allowed to drop. I've also brought with me many of those tools, but they have just increased exponentially in depth and truly become not just a practice for either productivity or because it's good for me, but truly because it is like a journey into my soul. I know
Mm-hmm.
that sounds like too whatever, but it just like that is how it is for me. That is,
And
and that is the
mhm,
spiritual practice, right?
that's
That
the
is when it
practice. Yeah.
becomes truly yours, when you're like, I can't wait to have that deep conversation with my number one friend, which is me.
Hmm. Right. And that's, I was just thinking that as you were talking is, you look at journaling and you don't think of that as a spiritual practice, right? It's more, but with the way that most people learn journaling, it's more of a productivity practice or a practice of just clearing the shit basically, or something like that. But when you sit down at your journal, it's spiritual, right? When I sit down to my journal for gratitude, it's a spiritual practice for me. When I walk outside, it is a spirit, very spiritual to me, because I'm connecting with the elements outside. I'm connecting with the earth. And I've been practicing some fun, some fun little, I don't know, little practices. I've been practicing fun practices. Um, but like walking outside and asking, what do the trees want me to know today, or what does the earth want me to know today? Or like yesterday I was walking and it was windy and I was like, okay, wind, what do you want me to know today? Because we're making peace today. I don't like wind. I told Joe I'm going to go out and I'm going to make peace with the wind, and Joe's just like, whatever.
Good luck.
And so I asked, what do you have to tell me? And I got a good, I mean, this download of, about reminding of how we can be in flow, and how we can be in resistance when we're not in flow, and things like that. And so, I mean, that is a spiritual practice. Meditation, of course, we do think of that as spiritual, but also many times when you're talking meditation, people are talking productivity. People are talking, you look at the
Or
productivity gurus, and that's what they tell you to do is meditate so that you can be better at your work or whatever, right?
yeah, and like anxiety relief, and
Yeah.
it's got a physical or a work related purpose.
Hmm. Yeah. And so all these practices that, they can be. So those are the things, depending on how you do the practice, is what I'm trying to say, is depending on how you do the practice is what makes it spiritual.
Hmm.
So,
I love that too. And it's really, when you're creating something that fits your life, it's really looking at like what actually nourishes your soul. So, I mean, obviously journaling is one of the things that really nourishes my soul.
mhm,
However, I don't journal every day right now. That is not my season. That is not my chapter. I have done that in the
mhm,
past. But right now, with the depth, it takes me a little bit too long to be able to do that every morning. I have
right.
other things I need to do. But I still do spiritual practices throughout my day, every single day in one way or another. So it's like what actually does nourish your soul. And those are things where when I first started this work and began this path, I didn't have an answer to that. So if there's listeners who are like, I have absolutely no idea what nourishes my soul,
Mhm,
awesome. That is your invitation to start trying and just start doing things.
mhm,
And if meditation doesn't nourish your soul, perhaps a walk will. Or if journaling doesn't, because we have friends and I've got family who absolutely despise journaling with a passion,
right.
and that's okay.
Yep.
You do not have to journal. That is my thing. But
Mhm,
I love also the messages I get through Oracle and tarot cards.
mhm.
I mean, I can pull one card and just start to laugh and feel so seen and so supported and get that cosmic 2x4 to the face, like depending on what I need. It
Right.
is not
Right.
always a pleasant experience. But it is always, almost always something that really fuels my soul
Mhm,
in some way. And so if I were to pare down and even as I think of paring down to what actually nourishes my soul, I can't say, nor would I want to say that I do these every single day
mhm,
because not every single day is it nourishing to me. I
Mhm.
do a self Reiki healing practice. That is my most consistent thing, that nourishes me and helps clear my energy. And I do it almost every day. But if it feels forced, if I wake up late or if who knows what, it doesn't happen, that's okay. You know, but
Mhm.
that's my number one thing that I do like every single day for me. And then many of these others come in, you know, like I was telling you earlier, I will pull a card. Sometimes it's before I go to bed, you know, I mean, sometimes
Mhm.
it's the last thing that I do that day. But really, it's allowing yourself to have that flexibility. What is it that my soul needs today? Is there a message in my cards for me today, or can it wait until tomorrow? You know,
Right.
just kind of giving yourself that freedom and flexibility to step out of this is what I have to do. And I set this non negotiable goal for myself that I will do XYZ every single day, and being like, but today that feels heavy and stressful, and I'm not going to do it. And that's okay.
Right. Right. And allowing it to be fluid in the way that you practice it too. So like when the way that I was taught to pray the Native American way was to go outside, face the east, um, offer tobacco, say your prayer in the same spot every day, and every single morning you're to do that. And I found for me that doesn't work. What works for me is going out and saying my prayers in the morning, different spots throughout all over my yard. Or do I want to go face the river today? Do I want to go out, in the medicine wheel? Do I want to go out to the altar? Whatever, and sometimes, just like you said, it's not something that I do every single day. I still say my prayers in the morning, but it's not always outside. And so yeah, allow it to be um what, like, exactly what you said, what feels right to you in the moment and what's going to fuel your soul right then. And finding those practices that you that feel natural to you and that you love to do. And when you can find those things that you love, you absolutely love, and to start off, find one practice that you absolutely love and just do it. And if you want to do it every single day, right now I'm doing meditation every single day. And I've gone through seasons of doing meditation every day, and then I don't do it for a while, and then I do it every day and whatever. But right now, that's what's working for me right now. Meditation, walking, the three things that I'm doing that are every single day is meditation, walking, and gratitude journaling. And that's what's working for me right now. Maybe in the summertime I might be doing some different practice, but for now this is my practice. And but like I said, choose one practice that is like your soulful anchor, and allow it to be that anchor, and allow yourself to do that for a certain amount of time, something that you love, something that you know really lights you up and really fuels you up. And and do it for a little while, and if you find that that's not the thing, then find another thing. But you will find, eventually you will find that anchor. It's kind of like how I am with my gratitude practice. That's my anchor, right? um and then the other things are added too. But you will find that one small practice that keeps you connected, whether it's, and what we're talking about is connecting with your higher power, your creator, your God, whatever, but also that inner wisdom. It helps to keep you connected to your inner self, your higher self, your inner knowing, getting in touch with your intuition, all those things. So,
I love that. And when I was listening to you, I was thinking about how we both have a lot of tools that we can reach for to add to or do or whatever with those spiritual
mhm.
practices, whatever that may be, because we've because we've been practicing this a lot, right? And because we have gone through, I mean, we're both life coaches, we are both holistic coaches, we're both Reiki masters. Like we've done a lot in that world of
Mhm.
spirituality. But I think it's really important to look at how we started by consistently following the practice that we were given.
Mhm.
So the prayers that you were talking about, you did that consistently long enough to create a habit, number one, and number two, to find the way to tweak it to make it yours.
Right.
Same with me with Reiki. When I first started Reiki, I was very by the book. I used all of the hand placements. I had timers on my phone that would ding every time to tell me when to move my hands. And I very much followed that structured practice for a minute until I felt confident enough in it to start shifting it up and making it my own. Now, I still have my own way of doing things. It might look very similar on the outside, but it's very different within. And even mantras and words that I have kind of chanting in my mind as I'm doing Reiki is changes per person. It's never the
Mhm.
same.
Right.
Even the same client, it's going to look different every time. And so, but I needed to do the structured routine and practice first. And I think the cool thing to watch for with that, if we have listeners who are in that same spot, when you start something and you're following, we'll just say we're following the rules, which
Mhm.
we know I hate rules, but they do have a
Right.
purpose sometimes. So you're following all the rules and you're doing it the way that you're taught. When and when it starts to not feel good anymore, when it starts to feel either heavy or you feel anxious, you feel a little fidgety or dreading showing up to that practice, that is your clue that either it's time to take a break and shift to something else, or that you just need to tweak it and make it your own. Or maybe perhaps you need to find a different purpose for it. Like there's something there for you to explore. And Tina and I can't tell you what that is because that is where your inner wisdom comes in. But
Right.
it is knowing, why am I feeling agitated with this? Is it because it's showing me I need to go deeper? Is it because it's showing me I can actually I can get rid of the dings and trust
Mhm.
my own intuition to be able to shift hand placements and go where the energy is calling me to go? Like really playing with what that feels like for you. Like maybe for you it was these, this is not the way I need to do it. These are actually the prayers that I am called to either reciting or having it different every day or whatever. Like that is
Mhm.
how, and I know both you and I have done that in our own ways, where we started following that rule, like what you just described.
Yep.
And then over time, the agitation didn't necessarily mean that the practice was incorrect, but it meant that it was time for us to tweak it and make it our
We could.
own.
Yep. Yep. Totally. And that's, I mean, I was just thinking about smudging and how, I've got my little smudging stuff here and how you and I both do it differently. We do it the same but different. We add our own little flair to it or whatever. But smudging is another one that I learned, you know, the Native American way and learned how to do that and do it every day, every morning, as you're saying your prayers or before you say your prayers, as you say your prayers, you do it in the morning. And then you go out and you drop tobacco and whatever. And so, because the smoke will carry the prayers to the creator. And now I do it. I mean, that's how I use it, but it's not, and it's like we started this video. I smudge myself. I smudge myself. uh, it seems like I'm always smudging myself for one reason or another. Joel, like the other day, I was like all anxious and upset, and he's like, "Go smudge yourself." Yeah.
I have that t-shirt, by the way,
Yeah.
and I mean it.
Yeah.
But I mean it for me most of the time.
Yeah.
It's a
Right.
reminder for myself.
But yeah, so we get in this thinking that smudging should be a certain way, right? We should be doing it a certain way. And really it's your way. It's the use your intuition, use the, if you have a fan, use your hand, use, however you can um, move the smoke around, it's going to work. Um, and just trust that you've set your intention of whatever you're doing with the smudging, because I've had people um message me or ask me how I don't even know how to smudge, and to me that's just so simple that I don't even think about it. And as you were talking about that, I just was reminded that um that simple practice is something that, and it's a pretty it's simple but it's powerful, right? You can feel the shift when you light, when you have that smoke, and you have that intention of that smoke clearing your energy. So yeah.
When I first went to purchase my very first sage bundle, I didn't know how to use it.
Hmm.
And I remember asking Chelsea. So, Chelsea, if you're watching this, thank you. I love you. But I asked her because I was purchasing it at her store here at Meraki. And I asked her, how do you use this? And she said, don't put a rule on it.
Hmm.
And I have used that phrase and like brought it to my soul, which it's also very much part of who I am, but it
Right.
just put that little word to it. But I remember leaving there and still feeling unsure, like I was going to do it wrong. I actually watched some YouTube videos to watch and get all the things. And that's okay. Like it is
Hmm.
so okay to start there,
Yep.
to recognize that we are always looking for a how, and to let ourselves find that inspiration, find the how in whatever way that may be, really being able to let ourselves feel that, and then getting to the point where, I mean, I think I watched it once and I was like, okay, I got this. I can do this. And I'm just like you now. It's second nature. I don't even realize. I go and smudge Brandon's house and he
Uh-huh.
comes home and of course he can smell the sage, but he's also like, oh, it feels so good in here. Thank
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
And he can even feel the difference from that in energy. And so,
Mhm.
but really it's remembering that there is no smudging police that's going to come and tell you that you're doing it wrong. So if you want to use that in the beginning, by all means, please do. As far as
Mhm.
whatever, and that is applied to prayers,
Yep.
to journaling, to Reiki sessions,
All of them.
all the things. Oh,
Your tarot,
yeah.
your oracle, the runes. There are so many different practices that you could try or you could play with, and just play with it.
Yeah.
Make it your own, and don't just remember, like what you said, there's no spiritual police out there. I
Well,
mean, there might be one or two that's going to tell you that you're doing it different, doing it wrong, but you know, don't let them
yeah.
get to you, because as far as I'm concerned, there's no wrong way. As long as you have that intention that you're connecting, then there is absolutely no wrong way.
Yeah. And when we have those thoughts that come up where there's that fear of doing it incorrectly, just remember
Mhm.
that's just programming. That's not real. That's not real.
Yep.
There's no, that is not how spirituality works. It does get to be your own unique
Hmm.
connection, and there's not a right or wrong way to do it. It is just starting and it is doing it. And it is when you, now, yes, if you're wanting to learn how to do something, is very different from feeling like you have to do it a certain way in order
Hmm.
to,
Right.
and that in doing it a certain way in order to can be found in every area of our lives. And so allowing ourselves to let go of that requirement, that rigidness, that strictness, and just know that it doesn't have to be correct for us.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I even had a hard time saying that. Like my throat wanted to
Yeah,
squeeze as I'm like
I
talking.
saw that.
Like
I
you
saw
start
that.
talking structure and dogma and everything, and I like I can't get that out.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about our own experiences and examples of simple practices that we use. Tina, do you have any others that you want to share with us? Some things that maybe we could give ideas that maybe our listeners haven't thought about?
Um, yeah, so grounding. So choosing one small thing to start with. It's like what we talked about a minute ago is like choosing that one thing to start off with. And grounding is like go outside, put your feet on the ground barefoot and just uh connect with the earth. Put your phone away from you and just stand there and connect with the earth for 2 minutes. 5 minutes is even better. But 2 minutes is it's like immediately. So the when you I saw a video recently about grounding, and when we touch the ground barefoot, it is immediate how that and the energy from the earth comes in and just fills your body, and it helps to ground you and helps to uh it just calms your nervous system. And so grounding is a really good one. Even like when you get out of bed in the morning, like just a breath, breathing, just just a 2 minute breathing exercise. You could find some exercises on YouTube or whatever, breathing exercises, and that's a good way. I love to um, start my morning before I even get out of bed. I'm asking myself, who do I want to be today, and how do I want to be? And that to me has turned into a spiritual practice to where I'm creating who I want to be. I'm going to step into this person at and how I want to feel and how I want to do. And we oftentimes think we don't have that choice, right? We have the choice. We choose every minute of how we want to feel and how we want to be. And it's just that we are unconscious to those choices. So first thing in the morning, when we can, if we can um, think about that, when our mind's still kind of still in that sleep zone, then it helps us to do that. There's like, tarot. I know you love the tarot, the cards. I do oracle cards. I have oracle cards, and I'll do that. I pull cards, the journaling, um, gratitude practices, morning walks. I mean, there's so many different things, but it's finding those things, just like we've talked about earlier, is finding those things that you enjoy, but then also to trust your intuition. And there's like moon rituals. I didn't even think about that till just now. Moon rituals. So we can do like um the full moon in which I do a drum circle almost every full moon, and we do a little ceremony and rituals for the moon. And you can do simple things. You can make moon water. You can take a bubble bath during the moon, or you go outside and just soak up the moon's energy. Um, the new moon is the same thing. You can, or writing, journaling, uh, setting intentions, releasing, fire ceremonies. I mean, there's so many things that you can do with the moon. Um, the one thing that I really like is and I always talk about this is like when we're outside or anywhere, we're sitting here at our desk, and we can take this minute, just this pause to think about what you're grateful for, or just to take some quiet time is another way to um, just kind of connect. It's kind of bringing yourself back to the present. And my favorite thing is, what am I grateful for in this moment? And that's just kind of like a sacred pause to where we're just taking that minute to bring ourselves back to ourselves. Um, And I know you like the morning coffee ritual.
That is my thing. And I do. I love, putting my hands around my coffee and looking at it. I just love that. And I send it Reiki, but whether, you don't have to do that. But even just putting in similar to your intention, with what is my intention for the day, and usually it's something like joy, peace, love, connection, um, fun. I really try to choose something for the day and just send that coffee, even gratitude. Thank you so much for this amazing coffee, because of course I have amazing coffee. And I feel so much joy in that moment, just being able to connect with my coffee in that way. um and I know another one for me is actually my interactions with my animals. My cat, he's just such a joy to me, and even just being able to hold him in the morning. I mean, it's very quick, it's short, it's cat. You get him for a hot second and then he's done with you. But even in that moment, to just actually like send him love and be like, I love you, buddy. Thank you for being my friend. And I do that with each of my animals. Even if I don't have a lot of time, it's very quick, just making that eye contact with them. Or if they're not comfortable with eye contact, that's fine. My dog loves it. He just loves it. So I just look at him and hold his little chin in my hands and make that eye contact, and he just melts, and I just get to send him some energy and love. And those to me are even spiritual practices that are so quick and simple. They don't take a lot of time. If I have time, we'll go throw ball or whatever. But if I don't, it is just that little moment of connection. And even something as simple as texting one of my kids or all of my kids and saying, love you, buddy.
Mhm.
Just something very simple but meaningful. I think that's the important thing, is making meaningful moments in our day where we can. Um, those are some of the things that I absolutely love, in addition to what you've already brought
Mhm.
up, and what we've already talked about today. But it makes a difference in your day. It
Yeah.
just does. And I think because we expect big change to require big things, we
Mhm.
forget about the potency and the power of the little things.
It's the simple. Yeah.
And those little simple things can really create an enormous shift in our day. And so, and I feel like that is the whole theme of this video as well, is simplifying it, bringing it back
Mhm.
to the little things. That never underestimate the power of something small.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And that's, I mean, even like you, as you were saying, your coffee, it's like infusing your water with positivity, and just, taking that minute and just connecting with your water. Water has so many, water's alive. I mean, if you look at the videos, I can't, Macau, what is his name? No, not Macau. I can't remember what his name is,
I
but
know who you're
he
talking
does,
about, but I can't think of
yeah,
it
he
either.
does the water stuff where, I mean, and to look at how when we can infuse our water with these words, it, you know, and then drink it, that's a really spiritual practice too. I mean, there are so many um, different little practices that you could do that are just so simple, and just like what you said, it doesn't have to be this drawn out ritual that we, or long morning routine that we see, the people on Instagram doing in the mornings. It doesn't have to be that. It can be just as simple as a going outside and looking at the sun, and connecting that way. Or I shouldn't say looking at the sun, because, but in the morning sun, when you go outside and absorbing that morning sun, I guess is what I should say. Um, it can be that simple, or sitting with your coffee with in a ritualistic way where you're, infusing all this intention in your coffee. You're smelling your coffee, you're feeling, you're tasting it, you're really with your coffee, you're um being present with it, and that can be spiritual. Yeah, there's just so many different ways that we can bring spirituality into our life, and we think I feel like we when we look at spirituality, we think it should look a certain way. And when you actually dig down to what spirituality is, it is that connection, and it's the connection with you. I think I've said this, I already said this, but it's your connection with yourself and the higher power, and it doesn't take much to create that connection.
Mhm.
So,
And one thing is the reminder of authenticity, right? Like
ah,
sometimes for
yes.
me, it is very quiet, very calm, very I don't know what the word would be, but just that quiet and calm and peaceful type space. And other times I'm dropping F bombs
Yep.
and I'm having fun and I'm
Yep.
talking and I'm doing my thing and I'm having that, and that can be spiritual as well. And so
Mhm.
sometimes we almost think that spirituality has requires piety or
Yeah.
reverence or whatever, and I'm like, no, some of my most spiritual moments is when I'm crying and I'm
Mhm.
cussing at the universe, and really it is whatever, whether it's in frustration, I'm allowing myself to express, that can also be very spiritual,
Mhm.
but then also in that fun energy of sass, and because I have a lot of sass and
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun with my sass,
Yep.
but that can also be spiritual. So really reminding yourself that anytime you have a it should look like is an invitation to say no, it should look
Mhm.
like how I feel in that moment. um
Right.
that was just one other thing I wanted to add with that, because I don't
Yeah.
want people to think, because we have been talking a lot about our spiritual practices, which are very calm and inward, and many of them
Mhm.
are, but don't require yourself to have it that way.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, look at my drum circles. I I love that inward stuff. I love the almost the I don't want to call it piety because I don't like that
Yeah.
word, but it's that sacred. I love the sacred, but there's also the sacred in the laughter, the joy, the fun. And so we can have that sacred fun. And that's what I love about doing the drum circles, is because we have that time of going within and um, looking at those things we want to release, right? We have that time, but then at the end of the circle, we have fun. We laugh, we dance, we play fun upbeat music, and just enjoy ourselves. And yeah, definitely, I feel like the there's spirituality in the fun. It's that sacred. I feel like it's a sacred fun. It's a sacred joy. It's the sacred becoming. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just,
All of the above, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
So is there anything else that you would like to add before we close here?
No, I think I'm good.
Awesome. Me too. I feel good with this. So, we would love to find out in the comments. Please let us know what's one simple spiritual practice that feels right for you. Is it something you're already doing, or is there something that you would like to start today? And put that in the comments. Let's have a conversation in the
Mhm.
comments for sure. And then, if this resonated with you, please share it with a friend who needs this reminder. Much of our channel gets spread by word of mouth. Thank you so much for doing that. And please continue to help us spread this. Um, as we go. And you can always find how to work with Tina and I in the description down below. We've got different ways for you to connect with us and find out how to either follow us or connect with us as well.
Right, right.
All right, with that, we'll see you soon.
Bye bye.